Hello and welcome to News Central Now. I am Adebola Adejuba. The headlines. Court grants EFCC permission to freeze over 1,000 suspicious bank accounts. Ipman blames outdated and abandoned pipelines for shortage of petrol across the country. Kenyan cabinet holds meeting in the wake of deadly floods that has claimed nearly 170 lives. Details shortly. Let's begin with some judicial news. Justice Emeka Nweti of the Federal High Court in Nigeria's capital, Abuja, has granted the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission an interim order to freeze 1,146 bank accounts. These accounts belong to individuals and companies being investigated for alleged offenses bordering on unauthorized dealing in forex exchange, money laundering, and terrorism financing. The judge ordered that the accounts be frozen pending conclusion of investigation. The judge further stated that there was need to preserve the funds in the identified bank accounts pending conclusion of investigation and possible prosecution. Justice Nweti adjourned the matter to July 23, 2024 for mention. The immediate past governor of Central Bank of Nigeria, Godwin Emefiele, on Monday challenged the jurisdiction of an Ikeja Special Offences Court to try him on the charges made against him by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC. He was arraigned by the anti-graft body for alleged abuse of office and multi-billion-dollar fraud. Olalekan Ojo San appeared for Emefiele while Kazim Badamosi San appeared for his co-defendant, Henry Isioma Omoye. Ojo asked Justice Ramano Shodi that the court lacked the necessary legal foundation to hear the charges against his client. But counsel for the EFCC, Rotimi Oyedepo, opposed Emefiele's contentions, urging the court to dismiss the defense application as it was a cause to delay justice.
First defendant, that is the former CBN governor, filed an application challenging the jurisdiction of the court, that is High Court of Lagos State, to try the charges against him, particularly the charges in counts 1 to 4, which relate to alleged abuse of office by the former CBN governor while he was in office. We were humbly of the view that a jurisdictional challenge of that nature, which was not a challenge to the validity of the charge or information, should be determined first.
As part of efforts towards enhancing the administration of justice in Nigeria's Northeast Borno State government, in collaboration with Center for Social Legal Studies, organized a capacity building course on the administration of criminal justice law. The course aims to unite all stakeholders involved in the justice system, fostering collaboration and coordination in the once insurgency-ravaged state. Our correspondent Umaru Kirawa tells us more.
A state recovering from the ashes of conflict in Nigeria's northeast, Borno is building on the peace as normalcy gradually returns. In recognition of the importance of a well-functioning justice system that instills public confidence and upholds the rule of law, the state government brought together stakeholders to equip them with the necessary knowledge and skills to effectively apply the provisions of the criminal justice law of Borno State.
There's nothing better than capacity building in the judicial system. The Synchronon, we shall motivate them. I'm aware of some of the lapses that we have. Equipment and all that is needed in order to drive the process of speedy dispensation of justice has to be done.
The capacity building course will cover a wide range of topics, including criminal law principles, investigation techniques, case management, fair trial rights, and the use of technology in evidence collection and presentation.
Some of these are ways ahead of the provisions in the Federal Administration of Criminal Justice Act.
I definitely have the conviction that at the end of our tenure in office, Nigerians will start reaping the benefits of the renewed hope agenda of this government.
Let us be guided by the principle of integrity, professionalism, and respect for the rights of all individuals.
The administration of criminal justice law seeks to unite all stakeholders of criminal justice administration, lawyers and non-lawyers alike.
We are going to work with the Borno State as well as those committee members that the Ministry of Justice have put together.
By uniting all stakeholders, the state aims to create a harmonized justice system that benefits its citizens.
Our client will be happy because there will be no time wasting in the administration of criminal justice in law as far as this law is concerned.
It's still new to us, so when this workshop is conducted, we will have the major takeaway in the workshop because the application of the law is going to be very, very easy.
It's a major shift from the traditional CPC that law officers and other lawyers are used to.
We have been rated #1 continuously, but that doesn't mean we will stop. That is why we are still even adopting new laws to make it even faster.
Some personalities were awarded as criminal justice champion for their efforts in improving Nigeria's justice system. In Maiduguri for News Central, Umori Kirawa.
The scarcity of premium motor spirits, also known as petrol, continues to linger as frustrated Nigerians wait endlessly hours in queues trying to get the product. Reacting to this, Public Relations Officer of the Independent Marketers Association of Nigeria, IPMAN, Chinedu Ukadike, spoke on News Central's program, The Conversation. He attributed the scarcity to outdated and abandoned pipeline infrastructure.
President Mohammed Tinubu to declare a state of emergency in our refineries and our pipelines. I made it very, very clear that most of our pipelines are obsolete, and those pipelines have been abandoned for so many years. These are the only things that can be able to quickly send products. If our pipelines are working, why is the truck traveling almost 3, 4, 5 days to get product to Aba Depot, Yola Depot, Ilori Depot, and all the rest of them? So our pipelines are bad. A lot of vendors are fishing on those pipelines, and you see, some security agencies are not doing little or much, to protect those pipelines, so that the government can use those pipelines to transport petroleum products.
Our correspondent Bernard Akede joins me now to give us an update on the fuel scarcity in Lagos. Bernard, good afternoon. Glad to have you join me.
Thank you for having me back, Debola.
Yes, since the last time we spoke in the morning, has there been any new development at a filling station selling fuel? What's the queue like?
Well, for those filling stations that had continued selling fuel as of this morning, for some of them the queues have reduced. For others that have run out of the product or have deliberately decided to stop selling, their gates are shut, but there are still cars in front of those gates, whether shut or open, whether they're selling or not. As for the one where I'm standing, this is where I was earlier this morning. We've been able to gain access into the premises, and what you can see right behind me is exactly what's going on. The queues have extended from inside of the fuel station all the way out to the road, and then from in front of the station through the major expressway, the queues are still as long as they were this morning. And added to the queues now, you have people carrying all colors of jerry cans right in front of them, as we usually have during fuel crisis issues like these. Sometimes the attendants sell to people with jerry cans, other times they don't. But when they sell to them, of course, with extra charges because they are bringing their jerry cans. So it's a mixed occasion for people. Some making extra money by selling black markets after buying from the fuel stations, and then fuel station attendants themselves putting some extra cash on top of the original price that they're selling at to sell in jerry cans, of which the original price clearly has gone up by a few tens of naira. Those who were selling at 610 before, now probably selling at 640, 650 or thereabouts. We're hearing that some have even gone as high as 700. I haven't been able to confirm that yet, but this is what reaching me as at the moment.
From your observation, Bernard, how are people reacting or coping with these new developments?
Well, I guess, like you said, coping is the word. In Nigeria, we get to cope with almost anything. I think we are the most, what's the word now? We are the people that evolve the most, evolve with time and with situation, basically. So what is happening now is that people are joining queues as early as they possibly can. People queuing up as early as 5 a.m. so that they can get PMS. Some others who can't do that are buying from black market sellers along the road, which of course is risky to themselves and to their engines, because you have no idea what's been mixed inside those jerry cans. For those who cannot do that, this is what they do. They join the queues and stand here for hours on ending. And that basically is how people have been able to cope so far, sadly.
Just give us an update as to where exactly you are, Bernard, and how this has impacted public transportation where you are.
Okay, I'm at Ologbolo bus stop here. This is just by Agundi along the Lekki Expressway. And I think I'll start from myself, how it has affected my public transportation. I mentioned earlier this morning that as we usually do, we join the office staff bus. That bus spent at least 3 hours to get to my bus stop from the takeoff point, which should have been at most 20 minutes. And that's because of the traffic that emanated from the queues blocking the roads. Public transportation, as you'd expect, of course, the cost or the price has gone up. Buses that would cost 300 now cost as high as 800 naira. And then when it comes to cabs, I was trying to take one of those e-hailing cabs this morning, checking the prices to see what it would cost. Ordinarily, from here to the office would have cost me about 8,000 naira at most. I checked the price this morning and it was 19,800 naira. For those who are unable to pay the price, this is where we find ourselves.
Bernard, thank you so much for that detailed report. We'll keep in touch with you to see how things progress. The Joint Admissions and Matriculation Board has announced the release of the 2024 Unified Tertiary Matriculation Examination results. JAMB Registrar Professor Ishak Oloyede made the announcement during a press conference in Abuja. He explained that out of 1.9 million candidates who registered for the exam, over 1.9 million sat for it, while 80,810 were absent. However, he notes that the board is withholding the results of 64,624 candidates for further investigation. Professor Oloyede advised candidates to check their results by sending UTME results to either 55019 or 66019 via SMS starting from today. He also revealed that JAMB now conducts examinations in 9 international centers, including locations in Abidjan, Addis Ababa, Buea, Cotonou, London, Jeddah, and Johannesburg.
Out of the 1,989 CCCA candidates who registered, 1,989,668, 80,810 were absent. So a total of 1,904,189 sat for it within 6 days. Therefore, 64,624 results are under investigation. 95 centers experienced hiccups of disrupting only 150 of 9,156 sessions. In 2024, we have 49.4.
You're watching News Central now. Let's take a short break. Stay with us. Hello and welcome to News Central now. I am Adebola Adeduba. The headlines. Court grants EFCC permission to freeze over 1,000 suspicious bank accounts. Ipman blames outdated and abandoned pipelines for shortage of petrol across the country. Kenyan cabinet holds meeting in the wake of deadly floods that has claimed nearly 170 lives. Details shortly. Thank you for staying tuned. The commencement of demolition along the coastal line for construction of Lagos-Calabar Coastal Highway is here. The laughter and jobs offered by the long stretch of the beach line may be disappearing as the federal government is determined to embark on the project that may have an 8-year completion time. Lekon Onobanjo tells us more in this report.
After weeks of suspense, A partial demolition exercise initiated to mark way for the construction of the Lagos to Calabar Coastal Highway has left business owners and other employees in the middle of nowhere. The sight of workers dismantling props and structures, once symbols of pride and livelihood, is a bitter pill to swallow for businesses and thousands of workers who cater to nearly 4 million customers annually.
It's disheartening. I must say it's sad because we've known that this would be happening, but to see it happen in real time while we're here to see some of the structures being destroyed, knowing that it's inevitable, I think it's sad to see my colleagues lose their jobs. I think that's the hardest part.
I can't quantify the amount of investment that has gone into this. And even before this whole demolition, we've already paid out to lots of contractors about remodeling certain areas, renovating certain areas, and it just looks like all that is going to waste.
The access to the beachfront has been blocked. The guys who are businesses, over 56 of them are businesses on this line, and they employ directly over 8,000 people. That's gone. To the larger ecosystem that employs combinedly over 4,000 people directly, and when you trickle it down, about 12,000 people indirectly. Now, what this does to them is that what brings people to them, now these are retail stores, these are offices, and what brings people to them is the beach.
As heavy earth-moving equipment dredges and levels the dunes, surveyors check sand levels, signaling the irreversible plan to transform this once vibrant beach to a highway.
We hope that the government will listen to us. What we're asking for is that we get time to move the things that needs to be taken out of the right-of-way. But this is not even in the right-of-way, and here we are grappling with having to quickly run to see as much as we can salvage.
Helpless workers, including foreign and local investors alike, are left in limbo.
It's heartbreaking, to see all what you worked for over the last couple of years, being pulled down by bulldozers without any form of, remorse or anything. It's crazy. We're losing business, people are losing jobs. The long-term effect, we know it's going to be quite damaging, and we really hope something can still be done to rectify this.
While the completion of the coastal highway promises improved infrastructure, its 8-year timeline offers little consolation to those whose lives have been upended by its construction. It simply offers an exchange, that is, losing several businesses that feed thousands of households, and the attended tourism it offers for a highway from Lagos to Calabar. In Lagos from News Central,
Organized labor union in Nigeria have accused government of paying lip service to addressing current hardships affecting them. Some of the unions spoke to newsmen in Abuja during a press conference ahead of the 2024 Workers' Day celebration coming up on May the 1st. Marvelous Obamano tells us more.
International Workers' Day is a day set aside to celebrate the resilience of workers and their contribution to nation building. To some Nigerians, the 2024 Workers' Day celebration with the theme, People First, seems like opening up a wound that is still fresh.
We are celebrating the May Day amid economic crisis in the country.
What is the workplace without people? Who keeps the wheels of production going? And who are the contributors to our national development?
The theme also highlights the importance of putting the interests of workers at the core of government's policies and actions. But many say this seems like a pipe dream as public officers continue to amass wealth to the detriment of Nigerian workers.
We will not have a former governor concerning about using $800,000 US just to pay advance of his child's school fees. We will not have another paying contractors over 10 billion for a fictitious airport project. We will not have people buying luxurious cars worth over 160 million each while the citizens suffer.
Today, we have experienced policy mishaps and, of course, policy somersaults where the people are put in the bottom line. A case in point is the increase in the electricity tariff without following the due process and in line with the Act, where stakeholders will have been involved in critical decisions that affect the life.
Organized labor unions in Nigeria say workers have not received the best from the current government, thus their continuous fallout with the current administration over the continuous lip service to the plight of Nigerian workers.
Today, we reflect on the journey of the labor movement in Nigeria. We cannot ignore the challenges that confront us, from unfair labor practices to inadequate wages, from unsafe working conditions to the erosion of workers' rights. Our right is far from over.
It is believed that this year's Workers' Day, which comes up on May the 1st, will provide an opportunity for government and labor to have a rethink on issues affecting workers' performance with a view to improving their productivity. In Abuja for News Central, Marvelous Obonman.
In the meantime, Governor of Edo State, Godwin Obaseki, has approved a new minimum wage of 70,000 naira for civil servants in the state. The governor revealed this while commissioning the new Labour House in Edo State on Monday. According to him, the new wage comes into effect on May 1st, 2024. This is as the Nigeria Labour Congress battles the federal government over increasing the minimum wage to match increasing national inflation and skyrocketing food inflation. The inflation rate for March 2024 hit 33.2% from 31.70% in February, according to the National Bureau of Statistics. Food inflation also rose to 31.7% in March from 30% in February. And to dissect this, I'm joined live by our lawyer and public affairs commentator, Laborance Oshoma. Good afternoon. Glad to have you join me.
Yeah, good afternoon. Thank you.
All right. So what are your thoughts on the new minimum wage of 70,000 naira in Edo State?
Yeah, sorry, please pardon my laughter. You see, it's I would say it's victory for workers. It's victory for the everyday worker who have had to bear the brunt of misgovernance across states in most of the states across the federation. But I have a challenge here. We've seen situations where you have this governor has barely less than 8 months to go. If I'm not even up to 8 months. From tomorrow will be May, and then he's leaving by November. And we've seen situations where governors that have 6 months in office will increase salaries, will employ 2,000 workers, and a new governor will come and say it is not sustainable, and all of them will be sacked. It will create crisis. So the big question would be, is this sustainable? What is the salary wage of Edo State? What is the budget? What is the internally generated revenue? This salary, this increment, was it captured in the budget? Has a bill been sent to the State House of Assembly to amend the appropriation law of the state? Or can the state government, by fiat, just, budget finances into existence? So
those are critical questions. Indeed, those are critical. Indeed, those are critical questions to ask. But aside that, do you think this amount is decent enough, considering our economic reality? For instance, increased prices of goods and services. We have tariff hike plus food inflation. Does this amount even meet the basic necessities of the average Nigerian?
You see, we are very good at throwing money at problems. We throw money at problem, and at the end of the day, you can have enough money in your pocket and there's nothing to buy. You can't eat money. No amount is ever enough. But what government should do is to encourage, agriculture. When you encourage agriculture and the food is surplus, certainly the prices of demand, the vagaries of demand and supply will determine prices, and the prices will come down. And where the roads are good, and there is, opportunity to move goods and services from areas of production to areas where they are needed, then the prices also would be okay. When there are affordable houses and the government is able to provide these houses in partnership with mortgage societies, and people know, workers know that they can afford to buy properties and pay small, using the Nigerian parlance, then whatever you pay will be enough. Do you know that in Netherlands, their tax is 60%. Your salary, you're paid your salary, and then they take 60% of the salary as tax. The remaining 40%, you really don't even need it because the education of your children is free, healthcare is free, transportation is free. And as I speak to you now, in Germany, you spend less than 100 euro a month for a train as your train pass or train ticket. But in London, you spend as high as £500 a month. So if you're living in Germany, for example, and you earn £500 a month, and you know that you can spend less than 100 euro, cost of transport will be okay for you. So the basic question should be, it is not enough to throw money at problem. It is also very necessary for us to use some of these monies to provide infrastructure so that whatever you're going to pay, we'll be able to access this infrastructure. But in the absence of infrastructure, if you pay 200,000 naira as minimum wage, it will never be enough.
Now, staying on minimum wage, could this move by the Edo State governor influence other states, for instance, to set their own minimum wage? You raised concerns about Edo State being able to sustain that amount. How about concerns for other states sustaining that amount, if indeed they are perhaps influenced by Edo State?
That's why I tell you, it will not influence any other state. What they would tell you is that Edo State, they want to wait for Edo State to conclude their election. And if they conclude their election, if they're able to sustain it 6 months into the election, that's when you now begin to say it will influence other states. States that, Edo State that is crippling, that has not been able to pay for infrastructure, and then just few months to election, they are increasing minimum wage. A lot of people will see it as vote buying. Someone has to see it as vote buying. And it won't be an immediate influence. In the long run, if they're able to sustain it, certainly it would influence on that state. And that will also embolden workers to demand for a fair wage.
Now, some critics say this directive or move by Godwin Obaseki of Edo State, in a way, doesn't show allegiance to the government, as it should be the government to decide what the new minimum wage should be. What are your thoughts on this?
No, we operate a federal system of government, really. It is not for the federal government to determine what a state can pay. If a state feels that they are buoyant enough and they can pay 150,000 minimum wage, after all, it's a federal government. The states are autonomous entity. So if the state feels that they are buoyant enough and they want to pay 150, even if the federal government's minimum wage is 30,000 naira, that will attract the best heads to go to that state to go pay. So it's not about a question of allegiance. For me, it's more of a question of sustainability. So can you sustain it? Is it because of election? Is there a fund for it? What's the current budget of the state? And what is the current capital expenditure? What's the current recurrent expenditure? And so with this minimum wage, you're going to increase, the recurrent. So are you getting more funds to pay this recurrent expenditure? Are you getting more money? And where are you getting it from? How well is the debt profile of the state? How well is it doing? How well are you servicing your debt? So when we look at it and you now begin to look at sustainability, and then what are the internally generated revenue of the state? So these are the indices that every financial analyst or every lawyer would be looking at. It's not loyalty to the federal government. What if you are loyal to the federal government and your staff are hungry and you have the capacity to do it?
And that's a fine place to wrap up. Thank you so much for your insights on the news. Laboros Oshoma, lawyer and public affairs commentator. Thank you once again. And now to the demolition of properties on Landmark Beach. We have Adeshewa Odushoga to bring us up to speed. Adeshewa, good afternoon. Glad to have you connect with me.
Hi, Debola. Good afternoon. Glad to have me join the news.
Yes, just bring us up to speed as to what's happening right there where you are.
All right, we are currently at the Breeze Beach Club at Landmark Beach, of course, and apart from the fact that the weather is not so friendly, it's about 32 degrees Celsius here. One more thing that is quite devastating for people who used to be workers here is watching what used to be their workplace, the things that brought food to their tables, the things that pay them at the end of every month go down to ground zero. And then it's really devastating because I could even hardly look into their eyes. We have so many foreign investors here. I mean, there's this usual gesture that you can see from most of them, putting their hands over their head and then putting their hands covering over their mouth in disbelief to see this place go down. And let me tell you that this Breeze Beach Club was just barely 4 months. It's just barely 4 months, and it was created to give this a Miami kind of concept in Nigeria. So imagine Nigerians not having to go to Miami, not having to go to Seychelles, for their usual vacation. That is what this place was supposed to serve. But now, because of should I target an unavoidable situation by the federal government of Nigeria, the Breeze Beach Club is now going down and it's about to become history. If you can see behind me, an active demolition is going on. And if I can pan the camera up until this other side, you could see the workers, most of them having their nose covered up. They are in total disbelief, they are devastated, they are sad, they are angry. And I tried to engage most of them in conversations, and they just said that, where do they want us to go now? We are jobless. We do not have anything to do now. Most of them would not want to talk to me on camera, but I believe that before we leave this place, we can convince some of them to engage us, in some kind of chit-chat. But one of the things that struck me more in the conversation I have with them is, where do they want us to go from here? Where do I get a job? How do I feed my family? And then what happens at the end of every month? Because we know the situation of the country. Getting a job is not all that easy. Let me show you some of the dramatic demolition going on here. That right, it should be like a shade for a lounge. And then you can imagine what is going on now. A building that is just about 4 months, and it's also a billion naira investment. One thing that I was also able to grasp is that the owners of this club have actually sold out memberships up for over 100 people, and then who have actually paid in full for their membership. Now they are left with, they've not even been able to recoup their investment yet because it's just 4 months, and now they are left in debt, having to refund the people who have paid for membership, having to watch their investments go down to ground zero, having to also have a zero return on investment, so to speak. Debola, it's a very sorry sight.
Did you perhaps spot any government official in talks with any of the business owners there, or even employees there while this demolition exercise is ongoing?
The employers are not here on ground, and then I tried to get to speak to one of them, and they said that they are not ready to grant any television interview at the moment. But some of the workers are here, but I doubt if we can have them speak because, I tried to convince them way before we came live. Let's see if we can talk to some of the workers who used to work here. We would see if they can talk to us briefly on how they feel about what is going on at the moment. I'm sorry, I know how you feel. Can you just tell us how you feel? I'm sorry, Debola, it's really hard getting them to speak on camera, but one thing is sure, they are really devastated, they are sad, because this is something that used to bring food to their table, and it looks like it's just going down right before their eyes.
Thank you so much, Adeshewa Odushoga, for that detailed coverage. And now to politics. The popular assertion that the southeast geopolitical zone of Nigeria is a stronghold of People's Democratic Party is being questioned by recent political developments within the zone, a zone which in 1999 was under total control of People's Democratic Party. Currently, the PDP only boasts of one state in the zone. Some say the condition of the once powerful party in Nigeria is a trail of the feats of the party suffered in 2015. Our correspondent Chinwe Ogele in this report takes a look at the current state of the party and what lies in store for it and the political landscape of the nation.
In 2015, for the first time in Nigeria, The People's Democratic Party lost grip of power at the center and became the major opposition party. Though still in control of sizable number of states across the country, it continued to trudge on amidst monumental errors which it went to the polls with in 2023. The party's fortune depleted even more after the 2023 elections, which saw it lose grip of more states, districts and constituencies in the southeast. It is not yet 1 year into the present administration, yet a lot of prominent members of the party have resigned their membership.
In our state in particular, how many meetings have they called in line with rebranding or whatever we call it? But in all, there seems to be no agreement between the blocs. And me personally, and for one, I'm a man of peace. I've put in many years in PDP, and I think it's time, it's right for me to move on.
What is happening in the Southeast, for instance, should not have happened, or even Nigeria. You lost the election, it's taking you nearly 1 year to convene a NEC meeting.
The Abia State Vice Chairman and spokesman of the People's Democratic Party, Ama Abraham, in a press statement described the exit of some of the members as a necessary step towards creating a reinvigorated political landscape that is free from the inertia of the past and embraces the promise of a brighter future. A chieftain of the party and former secretary to the Abia State government, Ralph Ebu, says only the weak gave in to the pressure of the moment while advising his party to rebuild with the right people.
PDP is a conservative bloc of the Nigerian political class, so it will not significantly remove from what the party will be. Yes, it's disturbing, but I don't see PDP going down for reasons that people leave or will leave or left. No.
The PDP was dealt a big blow in 2023 when it lost in all the 5 Southeast states to Labour Party, with one of their former members as the presidential candidate.
If I were them, I would seek alliance with, I would go repent and seek alliance with P2B.
There are insinuations that more prominent members of the party will soon leave, even as majority of the resigned members are yet to make their next political move known to the people. In Omar Hefoni Central, Chinwe Ugele.
Coming up, counting underway after polls close in key parliament ballots. We have details after the break. Stay with us. Thank you for staying with us. Still in the West, counting is underway after the Togolese voted calmly to elect deputies and regional councillors. The ballots came after lawmakers this month approved the constitutional reform creating a new prime minister-style post opponents believe is tailored for President Faure Gnassingbe to avoid presidential term limits and stay in office. The ruling union for the Republic Party is widely expected to win a majority of the 113 seats being contested in the National Assembly. The party currently dominates Parliament, having almost 65% of the seats. According to the National Independent Electoral Commission, the final results from the polls will be released within a week. The High Court in Ghana's capital, Accra, has dismissed a bid to compel the president to sign a controversial anti-LGBTQ+ bill passed by Parliament in February. President Nana Akufo-Addo's office said last month he would not assent to the bill until the Supreme Court rules on it constitutionally, sparking a political row in the Western African country. Justice Ellen Lodina backed the presidency argument, ruling it would be inappropriate to force a president to sign the bill yet. The two challenges were filed separately by two Ghanaian activists, Amanda Adoy and lawyer Richard Delasky. They are seeking to block the anti-LGBTQ+ bill from becoming law. The bill imposes a jail term of up to 3 years for anyone identifying as LGBTQ+ and 5 years for promoting their activities. And now to east of the continent, where Kenyan President William Ruto has convened a special cabinet meeting to address the deadly floods and dam-bursting torrential rains battering the country. Scores of people have been killed over the March-May wet season in Kenya, as heavier than usual rainfall pounds East Africa, compounded by El Nino weather pattern. Reported that it was about 169 people who have been killed so far in floods that devastated parts of Kenya last month. The number includes 45 people who died on early Monday morning after their villages were swept away. However, Kenya Red Cross put the death toll at 50. In Central Africa, Chad's transitional prime minister, Success Masra, is assured that if he's elected president, he will keep a place alongside the president of the military junta, General Mahamat Idris Deby Itno. Both presidential candidates are confident of victory in the first round on May 6th. General Mahamat Idris Deby seized the presidency in 2021 coup after the death of his father, Idris Deby Itno, who ruled the Sahel country with an iron fist for more than 3 decades. He promised to hand over power back to civilian government within 18 months and told the African Union he would not stand for election as president. But in March, he announced his candidacy for presidency, and the same month, authorities banned 10 opposition candidates from running.
Je suis rentré dans le cockpit de la transition comme copilote pour m'assurer qu'on n'atterrisse pas à l'aéroport de la dynastie, mais à l'aéroport de la démocratie. L'aéroport de la démocratie, c'est le peuple qui choisit.
South African cancer patients activists, together with health workers, have taken to the streets of Johannesburg, demanding the Department of Health to spend 784 million rand set aside by the Gauteng Treasury in March 2023 to outsource radiation oncology services for over 3,000 patients who are currently on the backlog list. The cancer crisis in Gauteng is driven by severe shortages of both operational radiation oncology equipment and staff within the public sector. This particularly evident at Steve Biko Academic Hospital and Charlotte Maxeke Johannesburg Academic Hospital, experiencing the most critical shortages. According to Cancer Alliance and Section 27, there have been patients waiting for radiation oncology services for over 2 years now, with some who have had repeated reoccurrences of their cancers as a result of not obtaining radiation oncology services. Four U.S. law enforcement officials were killed and 4 others wounded in a shootout as they carried out a warrant at a home in southern state of North Carolina. The wanted man was later found dead on the property after he shot multiple officers and officers returned fire. The Department of Justice confirmed that a deputy U.S. Marshal and 2 task force officers were killed in the incident. The Charlotte Mecklenburg Police Department revealed that 5 other officers were also shot, with 1 from the local police force in critical condition.
1:30 p.m. this afternoon, the U.S. Marshals Fugitive Task Force went to the 5000 block of Galway Avenue in an attempt to serve a warrant on an individual for possession of firearm by a convicted felon. When they approached that individual, they were met with gunfire. Officers returned gunfire and struck the victim, who was later pronounced deceased in the front yard of the residence.
Yemen's Houthi group said it launched attacks on 2 U.S. warships and 2 commercial vessels linked to Israel in what is described as retaliation for U.S. and British involvement in Yemen. The group, which controls much of northern Yemen, said it targeted the American warships with drones in the Red Sea. Meanwhile, the U.S. Central Command said it intercepted 5 Houthi drones in the Red Sea. The Houthis also claimed responsibility for an attack on the Cyclades, a cargo vessel they say was previously blacklisted by the group for violating the Houthi ban on ships traveling to Israeli ports.
لمظلومية الشعب الفلسطيني وردا على العدوان الأمريكي البريطاني على بلدنا، نفذت القوات المسلحة اليمنية عمليات عسكرية ضد السفن الحربية.
The Ghana Premier League match between Hearts of Lions and Beckham United witnessed an unprecedented disruption as Heart of Lions coach Bashir Hayford protested what he perceived as bias officiating by sitting in the middle of the pitch. This shocking incident caused a delay in play for approximately 20 minutes at Nana Park, where both teams ultimately played to a 1-1 draw. Hayford, whose team are battling for survival, took a seat and positioned himself on the field in protest. His actions were captured and widely circulated on social media platforms. Despite the interruption, the experienced coach eventually vacated the field, allowing the game to resume. Despite being reduced to 10 men, Beckham United managed to avoid defeat at home. A potential victory for Lions would have propelled them out of the relegation zone. However, with a draw, they remain second from bottom and face a significant risk of relegation to the Division 1 league. The joint bid from the United States and Mexico to host the 2027 Women's World Cup has been withdrawn, with plans now shifted to focus on bidding for the tournament in 2031. This decision comes just weeks before the host selection was set to take place at a FIFA Congress in Bangkok. Remaining contenders for the 2027 hosting right include Brazil and a joint bid from Germany, Belgium, and Netherlands. Both U.S. Soccer and Mexican Football Federation stated their 2031 bid aims for equal investment as men's tournament, marking a significant milestone. The federations expressed their intent to capitalize on the success and lessons learned from hosting the 2026 World Cup, aiming to ensure enhanced support for host cities, expanded partnerships, and increased fan engagements for a record-breaking tournament in 2031. And that's all on the news. But before we go, let's take a look again at some of the major stories. Court grants EFCC permission to freeze over 1,000 suspicious bank accounts. Ipman blames outdated and abandoned pipelines for shortage of petrol across the country. We also told you that Kenyan cabinet holds meeting in the wake of deadly floods that has claimed nearly 170 lives. Send your eyewitness report to the WhatsApp number on the screen and follow us on social media. We are at News Central TV. You can watch us live on DSTV channel 422, Star Times channel 274, Avo TV, and YouTube. Many thanks for watching. I am Adebola Adeduba.